Button prompts are everywhere in video games, to the point that players are conditioned to just follow any that appear on whatever screen they happen to be watching. Do we think that worked? But as we've pointed out before on the channel, not all button prompts are so simple. Some come accompanied by the strangest of text. Less press X to jump and more hold B to give birth. So be careful which buttons you press from now on, as we consider 7 more button prompts you are not ready for. Enjoy, but we're spoilers for the following games.
If playing Dark Souls has taught us anything, it's not to trust Dark Souls. The series seems to delight in lulling you into a false sense of security, like in Dark Souls 1, where you're flattened by a ball rolling down some stairs. Or in Dark Souls 3, where you're flattened by a ball rolling up some stairs. You know, I tried to explain my trust issues to my therapist, and I'll be honest, a giant ball of skeletons rolling uphill in contravention of the laws of physics was the moment where I lost her. The point is, you have to be constantly on your guard and trust nothing in a game where enemies can jump out from behind corners and tempting items can be used to lure you into danger. By the third Dark Souls game, we've no doubt learned hundreds of these lessons the hard way, particularly if we've made it as far as the Grand Archives, which is a sort of fancy way of saying big library. So when you find a huge pool filled with molten wax and are offered the prompts telling you to press X to dunk head in wax, every fibre of your being should be screaming out at you not to do that thing.
Bloop, don't actually do it.
Like perhaps the wax is so hot that it burns you and you die. Or the wax fills your airways and you die. Or the wax is some sort of gloopy monster that eats you and then you die. All things that could happen in a Dark Souls game. But no, covering your head with wax is actually beneficial, granting you immunity from the ghostly, grasping hands that come out of bookshelves and usually cause damage and build curse. Plus, as an added bonus, your head gets turned into a jumbo-sized Yankee Candle. I wonder what a Dark Souls candle would smell like. Nothing good, obviously. Anyway, having been rewarded rather than punished for risking pressing X to dunk head in wax, I think I'm finally ready to start trusting again. Can you Google From Software's address? I'm going to start forwarding my therapy bills there direct.
Couldn't help overhearing your conversation.
No worries. It's no secret.
All in the Isles know Jarl Udalric hears the voices of the gods.
These voices you hear.
The gods. Their voices.
It's not the gods.
When it comes to doing the right thing versus doing the wrong thing, the morally complex Witcher 3 Wild Hunt has more grey areas than an elephant's backside. Even so, you'd expect there to be some deeds that are so obviously wrong that even an ethically ambiguous Witcher would draw the line. And yet. In the quest called Possession, one Jarl Udalric is being tormented by a parasitic shadow creature called a Heim, which feeds on his guilty conscience and tells him to, among other things, gouge out his own eye.
Such was the will of the gods. A sacrifice for Aki.
Oh wow. It's okay. I think you could really pull off an eye patch. Getting rid of a Heim, we learn, requires a straight-up battle that might kill the host, or, alternatively, tricking the Heim into attaching itself to someone with an even guiltier conscience.
The Heim's a demon, and demons are notoriously hard to fool. Plus, the trickster can't know it's a trick.
But how do you give someone like Geralt a truly guilty conscience? Let's find out together. To produce a genuinely guilty Geralt, his pal Keris tells him to wait in an abandoned house and start a fire in the oven. So far, so morally acceptable.
Hope you know what you're doing.
So do I.
But then, Keris kidnaps Udalric's baby and, chased by the Jarl and his guards, dumps the crying child on Geralt.
Take him. You must put him in the oven. Trust me.
Take care not to hurt the child.
Is it me, or did it just get morally sketchy in here? This cues a split-second decision that includes the unforgettable prompt to put the baby in the oven, which I don't think anyone foresaw in the future of electronic entertainment when Pong was invented 43 years earlier. If you opt to sling the kid into the cooker, Udalric will be extremely unhappy about it and you will have to fight his two guards, but sensing yours is the guiltiest baby baking conscience on this side of the continent, the Heim will ditch the Jarl and glom onto Geralt. At which point it is revealed that the oven had a second door on the other side, so unbeknownst to Geralt, all he did was post the baby safely into the waiting arms of Keris's mate.
Aki!
This ruse banishes the Heim because Geralt hasn't done anything actually wrong except for murdering those two guards who were trying to stop you from putting a baby in an oven. But hey, what did I say about moral grey areas? Which are out.
It's not too hard. You just stick a hand in there and get a feeling for where the legs are. Go on.
Whatever you say, ma'am.
Fans of Rockstar games might have been surprised when they picked up Red Dead Redemption 2 to discover that while the game does include lots of thrilling high-stakes gunfights, it contains just as much, if not more, of the mundane aspects of everyday life in the Old West, such as polishing your weapons, getting your hair cut, and of course, choosing the best waistcoat to match your multi-tone half-chaps.
Come now, don't doubt yourself. That looks excellent on you.
I'll get to that train robber in a minute, I swear. The peak of this mundane gameplay comes late in the game during the epilogue, where John Marston is lying low and posing as a ranch hand named Jim Milton.
I'm David Geddes. Pleased to meet you. John, Jim, Milton.
Nice alias, John. What was James Marsden taken? Yeah, not in 1899 it wasn't. Anyway, Jim is working at Pronghorn Ranch, where he has a variety of odd jobs to complete to maintain his air of respectability. I mean, look, how could this man have ever been in a violent gang, I ask you?
You're a long way from Angelo Bronte's mansion now.
Sorry, sir.
Nothing.
What you might not be prepared for, despite taking a job on a horse ranch, is the side mission you get from a Mrs. Geddes, wife of the owner of the ranch, who asks for your assistance with a horse.
So, you know much about birthing a foal, Milton?
This horse, it seems, is ready to give birth, and now it's up to you, the video game player who stumped up $70 for the privilege of playing Rockstar's Old West magnum opus, to jam a hand in there and get this foal out. That's where the button prompts come in. First up, we have rotating the left stick to find legs. Then we have a combination of the left stick and the A button to grip and pull the baby horse.
And pull! Hold!
And voila, one new horse. Can't say I've birthed a horse in a video game before, but there's a first time for everything.
We'll make a proper hand of you yet, Mr. Milton.
Ah yes, speaking of hands, I need to go and wash mine.
Where is Starscream?
Decepticons! A new age is upon us! Gone are the failures of Megatron!
Enjoy your brief respite as leader. It will not last.
If any Transformer could be summed up with the sound it would be Starscream.
You picked on the wrong... Ah!
See? I told you. Starscream is most often found in Transformers media trying to overthrow his boss Megatron and become the leader of the Decepticons. And in Transformers Fall of Cybertron, this meddling mechanical man actually succeeds in taking the throne. But only after you take control of Metroplex and smush Megatron with a giant robot hand. After this, Starscream becomes one of the worst, most dictatorial bosses to ever have existed.
Decepticons! The time to attack is now!
Wait, what?
Hey, it could be worse, Decepticons. You could work at Twitter. Sorry, X. But even though you did press LS to destroy Megatron, Megatron actually returns later in the game to reclaim his throne from Starscream. Plus, This being a game where you constantly switch between different Transformers like a kid at nursery who can't decide which one to play with next, you're in the driver's seat.
Soundwave, rally Shockwave and the other loyalists. I have a speech of my own to give.
When you finally reach Starscream, a horrible robot boy who talks like a little goblin who has sworn to take your firstborn, Starscream is not giving up without a fight, or more accurately, getting other Decepticons to fight for him.
Cowards! Is there no one left who would challenge this pretender to the throne?
It's here that you're given the button prompt to shut Starscream up, and should you take the game up on that tantalising offer, Megatron transforms into a cannon and shoots him right in his stupid metal face.
Starscream, your mockery of a reign is over!
Okay, that was a weird one, but in a sort of pleasant surprise kind of way. Thanks, Fall of Cybertron.
See? Montage! Works every time!
We crashed.
Yeah, but we crashed on Genosha!
It seems our flight was a little more than the X-chumps could handle.
Ooh, are they dead? Let's gently poke the furry one and find out.
If anyone's not going to take the serious business of button prompts too seriously, it's Deadpool. Even in the first few minutes of the game, just wandering around Deadpool's apartment reveals enough prompts to fill this entire list video by itself. You start with get up off your ass.
Click.
Then you can head into the kitchen and find one for pizza time.
I'm not really hungry, but alright.
And if you stroll into the bathroom, you can truly set the tone of the game with make a stink pickle.
Fine. You asked for this. Hundreds of... Oh, you gotta love the ones that make you sweat.
I don't know what else I expected, really. But another prompt that completely threw us off comes after you crash land with the X-Men on the mutant-populated island country of Genosha.
Deadpool, look out!
Having rendered the team unconscious, Deadpool can attempt to rouse his favourite X-Man in the only way he knows how.
Oh, Wolvie, time to wake up.
Yep, you read that right. Press X to bitch slap. What follows is an extremely long button mashing sequence where, should you decide to not be a quitter, like the other prompt says, you can continue to slap Wolverine over and over again, turning this attempt to wake Wolvie into a cathartic confessional for the merc with a mouth.
That's for being in more comics than me. That's for making me love you.
And as with everything Deadpool does, it gets more meta the longer it goes on for.
That's because I want to see if the player keeps doing this.
The fact that there is a prompt to slap the most famous and serious of all the X-Men and that it stays on screen for the entire time as poor Wolverine's head flops from side to side is something we were 100% not ready for when we started.
That's because the whole setup just added 5 minutes of bonus play to the most awesome game ever devised by mutant or man. I guess he's not waking up.
I would say this is the worst thing Deadpool has done to Wolverine, but I've seen the new movie.
I'd sacrifice anything, come what might, for the sake of having you near, in spite of a warning voice that comes in the night and repeats in my ear.
The Batman Arkham series is no stranger to weird button prompts. In our previous video on this topic, we briefly mentioned how in Batman Arkham City you can press a button to pay your respects next to the chalk outline of Bruce Wayne's dead parents. You think he redraws that outline regularly to make it last this long, or has he just painted it? With the next game in the series, Arkham Knight, yet more weird custom prompts are waiting for us. For example, when first calling upon the Batmobile, the button prompt, and Batman himself in as many words, tells us to even the odds.
What are you doing? Evening the odds.
But the oddest button prompt in the game comes at the very beginning of the game, which kicks off inside an incinerator with a recently deceased Joker and Frank Sinatra giving some not very subtle allusions to events later in the game.
I've got you under my skin.
When the camera pans out to show the Joker, looking even worse for wear than usual, it sits on him for an awkwardly long time, leaving many players wondering what on New Earth is going to happen next.
Wake up to reality.
If you guessed the game is going to tell you to burn the Joker, then well done. You should probably go and get a job at Rocksteady. Eventually, for anyone who didn't get impatient and just start pressing buttons, a button prompt pops up in the bottom right-hand corner simply saying, incinerate. This is an invitation for the player to really get the flames going and cremate the Clown Prince of Crime in possibly the darkest start for a Batman game ever. Unless you count the opening weekend sales for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Remember that was a thing?
I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. Sorry, but you're in my story now.
In the Stanley Parable, your every action is narrated by a man who is so incredibly done with all of your shit. At least that's the case if you decide to ignore every piece of his narration and continuously do the total opposite of what he says, like a rampaging toddler who thinks the word no is just an incredibly funny joke.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Okay, I'll grow up. Eventually. You can keep pissing off the narrator, constantly ignoring his direction, until eventually he gets so mad at you, he gives you a fake fiancé and then mercilessly bullies you about it.
Alright now, I want you to come in and tell me all about
your damn.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you?
Okay, ouch, narrator. As a way of mentally torturing you for going against every single instruction given, the narrator locks you inside a fake apartment, sealing your doom.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
As the narrator narrates, button prompts pop up purely to crush Stanley's spirit harder than a falling piano.
And every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
As the scene progresses, every button option given to you actually takes something away. There's a prompt to watch TV that actually replaces it with a clock stuck to just before the end of the workday, and you can end up with your cute kitchenette being transformed into ugly, boring filing cabinets.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations.
The game even gives you button prompts to tell your kids a story and tell your wife you love her, which is honestly heartbreaking, as the room slowly gets more and more office-like, as if energy vampire Colin Robinson from What We Do in the Shadows became your interior decorator.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has.
But the prompt that actually brought a smile to our faces is the one that pops up midway through, instructing us to press a button to spend time with the boys. Instead of summoning the lads and a six-pack of cold ones, this button prompt of course does precisely nothing. Stanley remains in this beige hell with yet more office furniture taking over this fake apartment. But we like to imagine how nice it would have been if the prompt had worked. You know what? I'd like to see the narrator ruin my mood after that mental image.
And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button.
Okay, touché, narrator, touché.
And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And
Thanks to you for watching this list video from Outside Xtra, brought to you by me and Andy, he's there.
Hi.
And also Mike is somewhere.
He left.
And also thanks to Ellen for letting us, do stuff on and to her YouTube channel.
Yeah, thanks, Ellen.
If you'd like to watch more from Outside Xtra, there's a video right here, one of the many, many classics from Outside Xtra, or there's a video here, which are even more classic, if you can imagine, from Outside Xbox. If you'd like to support both channels, you can go to patreon.com/OXclub and join the official Discord, vote on streams, and say hi and whatnot. We'll see you there. Bye.
Bye.